What you see here is the Mercedes-Benz E220D, the lone survivor in its segment. All of its rivals have all ditched diesel, but Mercedes says there still is a market for a car like this with a diesel engine. Is that true? That's what we're here to find out.
Since the focus of this review is on the engine, let's start with that.
Now, powering the E220D is the same 2-liter turbo diesel engine that we've seen before, 197 horsepower, which is almost the same horsepower as the petrol. And as a result, performance is not too different. In fact, the claimed 0 to 100 times are just 0.1 second off of each other. So it's not really that you're sacrificing performance when you choose the diesel, but what you gain is torque. 440 Nm, that's about 120 Newton meters more than on the petrol. And what that means is you get a lovely bottom end. So you flex your foot and that pull, that strong pull that you love on diesels is very much there. It's there till about 3200 RPM, after which it sort of tapers down, but you do get that strong pull. Now, the argument is that both the petrol and the diesel get a 48 volt mild hybrid system as well that helps during acceleration, especially initially. So if you put your foot down, even in the petrol, it's not like you struggle.
And that makes you wonder where that extra 120 Nm is helping, because even the kickdown times are extremely close.
But of course, if you want to add a bit more zest to that, you also have drive modes between comfort, individual, eco, and there's a sport mode in there as well. Basically, everything becomes slightly more aggressive, the steering gets firmer, the engine is a bit more responsive, the gearbox is fast. And speaking of the gearbox, 9-speed automatic, really nice and smooth, and that 9th gear really tones down the revs, and that means you get a decent amount of refinement as well. However, refinement is where the 220D struggles a bit, because even though once on the move vibrations are very well contained, at idle, on signals, on stops, you do feel the vibes in the seat and a bit in the steering as well. And of course, there's that diesel drone. Now, the cabin otherwise is very hushed, wind noise, road noise is very well contained, but accelerate and around a 2,500 RPM, even from around 1900, you can say, you do hear that diesel drone. And that's not really nice, because the petrol, the E200, is just so smooth. The 450, of course, is another level of creamy, but this is something you can't really ignore. Yes, maybe with the music on, you might not notice it that much, but it is not completely eliminated either.
Now, despite it being a primarily chauffeur-driven sedan, you are bound to take the wheel for a weekend getaway.
Now, if you do find yourself behind the wheel with this diesel, you'd actually like it, because in terms of comfort, you have a lot. The seats are nice and comfy. However, they do miss out on ventilation or massaging. With an E-Class that is comfort-oriented, those things are, staple. They should have been there, but that's not the case. Otherwise, feature-wise, you have a lot.
The E-Class is tech-laden, and the diesel variant gets every feature from the petrol. The triple screen layout, a Burmester 4D audio system, an in-car camera for video calls, an app library to consume content, 4-zone climate control, digital AC vents, and much more. Additionally, the Space Saver spare wheel mounted under the boot allows for 540 liters of boot space, large enough for long weekend trips.
Now, handling obviously is nothing to get excited about, especially in an E-Class, long wheelbase, lot of car, lot of mass. It's around 100 odd kgs more than the petrol, but it's not like you'd see the difference right off the bat. The steering, very light, very convenient. You can obviously add heft, as I mentioned. 2 settings for that between comfort and sport, so you can change that. You get paddle shifters as well for the 9-speed automatic, so if you are feeling enthusiastic, you can get a bit more control, but it's not like there's a big difference. Around the bends, you don't have the option of rear wheel steering, and this does not get 4MATIC either. So rear wheel drive, which means on some occasions you can be a bit of a hooligan. And the one very important thing you have with a diesel is the range. Now, yes, fuel efficiency is not really a high priority when it comes to an E-Class buyer, but not having to stop for fuel frequently is definitely an added convenience. On a full tank, you're looking at around 850 to 900 kilometers. That is Mumbai Goa in one tank, Mumbai Ahmedabad in one tank, and even almost Mumbai-Nagpur in one tank as well if you are a bit careful with the throttle.
While the highways are diesel territory, the E220D is more in tune with the city and its bad roads.
For one, the ride quality, the damping is really good, so you don't have any of that sharp, harsh feel inside the cabin, even over low-speed bumps. Yes, it won't take bad roads as well as an SUV, but for a sedan, it is very, very good. The sharp edges are softened with ease, and even over speed bumps, as long as you're careful, it's not that big of a problem.
But what about its highlight, which is the rear seat?
Now, the back seat of the E-Class is always a really nice place to be. Space, as you can see, is not a problem at all thanks to that over 3 meter long wheelbase. Legroom, ample, headroom, good enough. And the seats themselves are nice and comfortable too. But of course, if you want more comfort, you have these controls right here. Press that and the backrest has a substantial recline with these lovely pillows. You can definitely find a comfy spot. Speaking of a comfy spot, if you want to stretch even more, you can put this seat all the way up front using this button. Press this and then you can use the same controls to just push it ahead, and it goes quite a fair bit ahead, enough for you to put your foot over your leg and just sit that much more comfortably. And speaking more on comfort, you have a center console that can be flipped down thanks to the chauffeur pack being ticked, which gets you a phone tray and a wireless charger as well. Some storage in the center with 2 Type-C ports. And it makes sense because the center tunnel is quite large, so accommodating a middle passenger will be uncomfortable. Might as well use it as a 4-seater. Speaking of 4-seater, you have 4-zone climate control as well, 2-zone in the rear, so you have your individual climate. AC vents in the pillars, a lot more effective. You have your own sunroof. Blinds, of course, are all electronic, the rear blind and the window blinds. So very nice and very comfy place to be. But the big question on the 220 is, do you hear that engine in the back? And to be honest, not really. You are that much further away from the engine, so you don't really feel those rumbles in the rear. But yes, when the driver accelerates is where you will notice that diesel drone.
Coming to the design of the E220D, it is consistent with the other E-classes. The diesel carries forward the exact same look as the E200, but unlike the sporty E450 available in AMG line, the avant-garde spec on the petrol and the 220D is the more elegant choice. The length, wheelbase and even the wheels are identical, and the only way to tell them apart is from the E220D badge. To commemorate 1 year of the V214 generation of the E-Class, Mercedes has introduced a new paint shade that is seen here, dubbed Verde Silver. It strays away from the commonly seen blues and blacks with a greenish tinge that adds more flair without compromising on subtlety.
At 80.5 lakh rupees, there really is no direct rival to this diesel E-Class. What you get is that strong grunt on acceleration with that extra bit of torque, and of course the long range with the diesel tank.
However, the diesel, while impressive, lacks the ultimate smoothness of the petrol engine. But though there's no real gain in performance from all that extra torque, it has an effortlessness the E200 just can't match. What might also be a concern in regions like Delhi NCR is the shorter 10-year lifespan of diesel cars imposed by policymakers. This will no doubt affect the resale value of the E220D, and if this is a concern, the petrol is a safer bet. If this and the relatively low refinement aren't concerns for you, however, the E220D remains the more practical and sensible pick of the new E-Class range, as it has been for 3 decades.